Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 54 and we have a good one for you today. Apologize for my voice, I am getting over a little sickness. But today's fish is a weird looking fish. You've seen them in pet stores, but do you really know about them? Probably not. Today we are going to be talking about the the elephant nose fish. The elephant nose fish, or more specifically, the Peter's elephant nose fish. Scientific name Gnathonemus petersii. Again, that is Gnathonemus petersii. It is part of the family Mormyridae, which is the freshwater elephant fish. There are some brackish water fish that are called elephant fish or elephant nose fish as well, but these are freshwater fish. They are part of the order Osteoglossiformes, which, if you remember, that's what the arowana was. So, you know, these are kind of that same sort of general fish design there. Real long, and we'll get into it. These are native to West and Central Africa. They are found in particular the lower Niger River, the Ogun River, and the upper Chari River. But basically West and Central Africa, they're fairly common. And they prefer to be in muddy, slow-moving rivers and pools. So, you know, think, sort of like the swampy areas. They just do not want to be in that quick, fast-moving water. They don't really have the body design for it. These are I guess you could call them a medium-sized fish. In the aquariums, you're going to see them max out at about 23 to 25 centimeters, which is about 9 to 10 inches. But in the wild, these have been known to get up to 35 centimeters at max length, which that's about 14 inches, so just over a foot long. So definitely not a, super small fish, but I wouldn't call this a large fish by any means. As you can tell from this picture, it has a rather dark brown or kind of blackish color on its body, along with this extremely large head. If you look at this fish, it feels that the head is most of the body, even though that's not true. That's because one of the things about this fish and the entire family, actually all of the Mormyridae, is that these have a very large brain. In fact, they have a brain to body size ratio that's fairly similar to humans, which is very unusual in the animal world. Because of that, it's very well known that these are very smart as far as fish go. In fact, there was a professor and his team. They tested what the animals can perceive in water. For this, they set up a small cube in a pyramid in the fish's aquarium. Whenever the fish swam to the pyramid, they were rewarded with an insect larva. These experiments were taken in complete darkness, so that the fish couldn't see them. It was how they were sensing them, and we'll get into how they're sensing, how they sense these things in just a little bit. But the scientists were astonished because they found that in 9 out of the 10 cases, the fish swam straight towards the pyramid to get its insect larva, its treat, basically, even in complete black darkness. But more importantly, it was going to the pyramid. It learned that if I go to the pyramid, I get a treat. If I go to the cube, I won't get a treat. And they were also able to handle discontinuous contours. For example, they removed the edges of the cube and they put a wire frame in like a gel. and it's still perceived it as a cube. And then also they were able to calculate, it seems like the fish are able to determine the volume of the objects in water. The professor explained it by saying a cube has a larger volume than a pyramid of the same height. If we decrease the size of the cube so much that its volume became smaller than the volume of the pyramid, the fish changed their minds and swam to the cube. So it's really interesting in that that's maybe actually how they're doing it. It's not necessarily the shape of it. They determine things more by volume. If I swim to the smaller thing, we get a treat. So just really interesting. But more into like the body shape. This is a very laterally compressed, meaning that if you look at them head on, they're actually kind of skinny. They're not, you know, sort of cigar shaped. They're just super skinny, kind of extended from top to bottom. And they have this rear placed dorsal fin directly over the anal fin. Usually on fish you would see the dorsal fin right in the mid back. But if you notice, one of the reasons why this fish is always, you know, thought of as really interesting is the fact that the fins just look together, almost like a tail fin. However, it's very obvious that this is a tail fin, the caudal fin, which is heavily forked, by the way. And then as far as the Peter's elephantnose fish, you have these two stripes here, and then to me, it always looks like they're in a bow. Like it's in a bow shape. So you have this stripe that usually goes down onto the fins right here. If I can, there we go. It seems to be on the fins right there. And then you have this one in the back that has that sort of like bowstring being pulled taut sort of look. I don't know. But you usually have these two stripes. And then you have this kind of lighter patch. I wouldn't call this a stripe, but you have this lighter patch. But now we're going to get into the most interesting physical aspect, obviously, this trunk-looking extension of the mouth, which is obviously where they got our name. You can look at any picture and you'll see it in there. That seems to be the main aspect. Here you go. Right there. You see that? And that's all. I shouldn't say all. That's most of the elephantnose fish. In fact, this is a good one right there. So the trunk-like extension is basically almost a barbel. So think like the catfish whiskers that we've talked about before. This trunk-like looking extension is prehensile, meaning they can move it. And what they're doing is that is actually very sensitive. It's sensitive skin. They use it in self-defense, communication, navigation, and more importantly, finding prey. So, and also, just for your knowledge, the name of this is called the Schnauzen organ. Again, it makes me almost giggle every time I say it. The Schnauzen organ. So, yeah. But this is basically when remember we were talking about how they were navigating. These live in pitch blackness, muddy waters. They're nocturnal, and the reason why they can get around is this light patch right here is actually, it may just be like another stripe, you know, don't get me wrong, like just a different coloration, but right here they have an electric organ, an organ that actually produces electricity. And all over the rest of the body, so here at the head, on the back, you see those very little tiny dots right there, and they're going there. Those are actually electroreceptors. Those electric receptors are receiving electrical impulses from that electric organ to determine where things are, how to navigate, what things are there. So they're sticking that down into the sand, because remember, these live in sandy, not very gravelly areas. They're sticking their whisker, their trunk, down in the sand and sending out electrical impulses with their tail and using their trunk to see if there's any food in there that they cannot see. trying to sense for them. And that's actually how they find the majority of their prey. Now, in terms of why you've seen this and why I said it's in the pet store, this particular one, the Peter's elephant-nose fish, is probably the most commonly available mormyrid in aquariums. There's a couple of others, but you'll see this just called elephant-nose fish. It's very rarely broken out into species, but this is the most common elephant-nose fish you will see. And you can find them anywhere from $25, $35, probably even cheaper than that. But just something interesting. If you do have one in your aquarium, you can actually hear their electric pulses. The electric pulses generated by this fish can actually be made audible. You place 2 electrodes on the fish tank, and then you hook it up to a speaker, and you can actually hear the clicks that the electricity is produced by in this fish. Just the sounds that it makes. It's really, really neat. But the interesting fact that we are going to end on, and you can kind of see it in this picture, but we're going to be talking about their eyes. It used to be thought that these fish had very poor eyesight. And why would they need good eyesight? They live in very muddy waters, they're out at night, they're basically completely nocturnal. Why would they have good eyesight? However, it was determined that they in fact do have good eyesight, and that is because of their retina. So your retina is a very smooth thing that focuses light. Well, the elephant nose fish has a grouped retina. Instead of being smooth, their retina is actually composed of thousands upon thousands of tiny cups that all act as a parabolic mirror. And because of the murky waters that they inhabit, the cones in their eyes have only adapted to see red light. And the cups that we were talking about are made up of 4 layers of light reflecting proteins, which funnel the red light to the areas of the cones, which intensifies the brightness by around 10-fold. So while the rods are hit by light from other wavelengths. So basically that means that they can see 10 times better in darkness than we can. Just something super interesting. I know people thought that we'd probably end on the trunk talking about that, but however, I feel that the eye was the most interesting fact about this fish, being that it was thought forever that this fish basically couldn't see and its eyes were just kind of there. But in fact, they have incredible eyesight. So it's more likely that they are using both their eyes and their electroreceptors to look for prey and predators. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. And I hope to see you again. And peace.